Going to get started here in just a minute. All right, going to put us on the socials. Be right back. All right, just give it a few minutes, see if we get anybody to join us. Oh, thank you. You're here on time. Babes and Board Games. What a great name for a channel. I like it. Oh, what have you been up to, Babes and Board Games? Playing anything fun? Oh. Ba ba bee ba 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 boo. Just give it another minute or two. Got a few people joining us already. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we can go ahead and just get started. Start talking about stuff I want to talk about. First of all, a couple of things I'm looking forward to playing. Plains Indian Wars from GMT. It was not on my radar. And then my friend Bill was telling me about it, and then I've seen some stuff online and heard some stuff, and it looks like it's based on the Jeff Stahl's Academy Games 1775 system. And hey, thank you for saying thank you. I'm really excited for that because I love the Birth of America series from Academy Games, and it looks like Plains Indian Wars. It's essentially that same system, and I'm hoping I get a chance to play it before too long. I know I think it just came out, and so hopefully we'll see that there. Babe's Board Games. Ooh, painting. I wish I could paint. My friend Kim, she's like an artist. I keep trying to talk her into painting my minis, but so far she's not going for it. But I wish I could paint. I've said this before. I was always the kid in kindergarten who used way too much paste on his projects, and it was always a disaster. So Plains Indian Wars, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Renegade Game Studios is doing a G.I. Joe miniatures game, and War of the Ring. Yeah, I'll bet that'd be a fun game to have painted. Renegade, they're doing a Kickstarter. I didn't think it was a Kickstarter, and so I'm super excited for that because I love the GI Joe IP. I love what they did with the GI Joe deck building game, and they've got an expansion coming out to the GI Joe deck building game, Shadow of the Serpent, I believe it's called, and I'm super looking forward to that. I really think that'll be a lot of fun. So the miniatures game and the expansion. So I love what they've done there. Yeah, well, I got to get Plains Indian Wars first before I can play it. Before I can play it solo, but we'll see what happens. Although I got to admit, my favorite thing about playing like Birth of America is the fact that it's a team game and you got to negotiate with your with your teammate. That's really important. Been alarmed the rapid increase in nationalism around the globe seems to resemble the beginnings of another great war, and I find it very concerning. The problem with that statement is you need to define nationalism. Because this is something I've studied quite a bit, and it's something I teach about. And I think I talk about kind of like in the growth of the 19th century, you had nationalism and you had socialism, and they both have kind of benign and malignant forms. And certainly, I think there's a benign form of nationalism. We can call it good old-fashioned patriotism. I think that's a good thing. Some people that don't like the idea of a nation state, if you don't like that, then you don't like it. I think nation states are good things. I think nationalism in a healthy way is a good thing. It's when you start to believe that your nation is superior and therefore you have the right to take from other nations, to wage war on other nations, et cetera, et cetera. That's the kind of nationalism I think you need to, back away from and warn against. But at the same time, too, having said that, I had some great point, and I was going to blow you away. That was completely off topic of board games, but it was amazing, and now I forgot it. No, I was just going to say, the thing about it, too, is history's not a grab bag, too. So we say, well, this situation's just like this situation. It's like, well, there are always differences. And while we can use history in a didactic way to look forward, James Lacey, of course, the great James Lacey said, if we can't use history to be instructive of the future, it's just storytelling. That's very true. And so I think instead of just saying, well, this is just like the Great War, or World War I breaking out, or World War II breaking out, I think we say, well, we can take lessons from those wars, but we're looking at something new here. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. So, you're right to be concerned there, Sam. G.I. Joe RPG just released. Yeah, I saw that. Kilroy was here, and congratulations, Kilroy was here. He won the Fire in the Sky. Copy of Fire in the Sky. So, yeah. I'm not a fan of RPGs. I've never been a fan of RPGs. Not my cup of tea. Other people love them, so that's great. And I saw the G.I. Joe one was out, and if I was going to play one, I might consider playing that. But I'm just not a fan of role-playing games. Doing the characters for War of the Ring when it's time to do the armies. Okay, that's cool. Nationalism such as MAGA and Brexit. Again... I don't want to get too political. In fact, I have no intention of getting political here. I will say I think there are things far worse than MAGA and Brexit. But I'm not going to go into it further. So let's not get into it. Let's not get into a big argument. I really don't want to do that here. If it goes on, I'll shut it down. So I don't want to do that. Let's talk about board games because they are fun. Would you please do a review video of the 2G? Yeah, I want to. The problem is I gotta play them, and I want to, but I gotta schedule it. And the problem is I don't have a big game group here in Rock Springs. So like when I want to play a bigger game, I gotta go back to Salt Lake and I gotta schedule it, and and I gotta stay with friends. I'm usually staying with George and Holly, and it's just there's so many. Whenever I play a big game like that, it's work. It's really a lot of work. I want to do it. I want to review those expansions. Stay tuned. Maybe somewhere down the line. Have you ever dabbed with Agents of Mayhem from Academy Games? No, I heard that was good, but I haven't played it. Maybe that's one I should talk to him about. Do you like it, Sam? What's your favorite game version of Axis and Allies board game? Mine is the Anniversary Edition. Mine was the Anniversary Edition too, because I love the 6 factions, even though Italy didn't have too much to do. I love the 6 factions, and I love the map. It was my go-to version of Axis and Allies. But I got rid of it because I got War Room, and I'd so much rather play War Room than Axis and Allies. Axis and Allies is a great game, but War Room just is like Axis and Allies, to infinity. It's just such a better game. I really do like Axis and Allies and Zombies, though. As stupid as that game sounds, it's fun. I really like Axis and Allies and Zombies. And I still got Axis and Allies World War I, though I haven't played it in 6 or 7 years. And I keep thinking I'm going to play it again. Hopefully someday. Howdy, Daves. Did you hear that FFG has major announcement on April 20th? No. April 20th? Really? What? Any ideas about what their announcement's going to be? That's cool. I hadn't heard that. That's cool. I have so much love for Fantasy Flight Games. I have so much love for that company because they brought me some of my favorite games of all time. And they kind of shied away from making a lot of new games, and that makes me real sad. And hopefully they'll be bringing some of that magic back. Hopefully. Cody, have you played Risk Europe? Yeah, I did. I used to play Risk Europe. No. I'm thinking of Castle Risk, but I have played Risk Europe. I reviewed Risk Europe on the channel, and I really enjoyed that one. That game was a lot of fun as well. Got a huge kick out of Risk Europe. You ever come to this Play Access Knowledge Bloodbath rules? I haven't been to San Francisco nearly 20 years. I think the last time I was in San Francisco was 2003. My friend built one of those Flutogs for the Red Bull, and we jumped into the bay. I think you probably find it online. It was his name. The name of the Flutog was Lemon Meringue Sky. It was a giant lemon, and we jumped into the bay. It was so much fun. It was 2003, I think. Agents of Mayhem has a solo mode held up for years based on the Conflict of Heroes AI. I've been waiting on that. Oh, yeah, that sounds like that'd be fun. I think that'd be cool. Announcements these days probably a deck of cards. I'm scared. You know what? I'm scared that it will be just a deck of cards. I'm scared that FFG, if they do another game, or if they do an announcement, it's just going to be, check out this expansion for Arkham Horror or Legend of the Five Rings, or So hopefully it is something good. Maybe they're bringing Christian Peterson back. Although I heard, didn't he get his own company? I thought I heard he had his own company. I hope so. Man, I think that guy was putting out some great stuff. Yeah, I feel the same way. FFG used to be my absolute favorite game company, but a few years ago they kind of stopped. Not blaming Asmodee Taker, but it was around that time. Yeah, I'm not going to speculate either. They used to be. Years ago, if you would have asked me what my favorite game company was for years, I would have said, FFG. Hands down, FFG is my favorite company. Now, every now and then they come up with something cool. Like they're coming out with the expansion to Star Wars Outer Rim. I'm certain I'll pick that up, if I can afford it. But sooner or later, I'm sure I'll get that. Because Outer Rim's a great game. And I wish they come out with more expansions to Rebellion, and even like smaller expansions, like even like card expansions for like, TI4 or something like that. I'd be down with. But anyway. It's a shame what has become of FFG. I missed their heyday for sure. Do you think it's Asmodee's fault? Again, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I think there's a lot of money in collectible card games like Arkham. I think there's a lot of money there, and I think maybe they're chasing the money. I said I wasn't going to speculate. Now I'm speculating, and you know what? I don't blame them. If I was running a company, I mean that's the purpose of a company, is to make money. I do that too, and I got to tell you, I get a little off put if all a company does is fan service, and then that gets old and stale. So you got to find a happy medium in between. So I don't know. Hopefully, and not only hopefully, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that at some point we will see some more fun stuff from Fantasy Flight. I don't know we'll ever get back to where they were. Maybe. I think it's possible, but I'm optimistic they're still going to be able to surprise us from time to time and do some fun stuff. Maybe that's naive or hopeful, but I really think that. I really do. Is there a specific genre of war, theater of war, you want to see a board game based on? Oh, good question. There was an old game. I can tell you a specific battle I'd like to see. There was a game that came out years ago. I've never played it, and it looks fun. But it's like a game from like the 70s or something. And I'd like to see it kind of with more updated, modern rules, based on the Saint Nazaire raid in 42. It was a commando raid to destroy the docks at Saint Nazaire in France, because the Tirpitz, battleship Tirpitz, was going to sally. It was in docks in Norway. It was going to sally, and they figured, well, the only place it could repair is at Saint Nazaire on the French coast, because they had this giant dry dock for passenger liners. So the British actually launched this raid to destroy it, so they can't sally the Tirpitz. It's a great story, and I think it'd be a great game. Although I haven't played the original, and it may be freaking awesome. But I don't know, other kind of theaters, or you know what? Actually, I do want to see. What I would love to see a war game, like a war game that somehow you could make work, and that's so tricky because I don't know exactly how you could crack it. You need a smarter guy than I. But I'd love to see a game about nuclear war. Oh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I would love to see a game, and I know there are some games out there, and I honestly I haven't played them, but I would love to see a game where it's like maybe kind of a hidden information game part of it too, where are you keeping your silos or where are your subs or something, but just maybe a game that in may take an hour or 2 hours or whatever to play, but the game is compressed so that it takes like it's over like a half hour of real time. What the decisions are made, or maybe you're trying to de-escalate, or just something about that. I watched the other night with a friend of mine. I watched on Amazon By Dawn's Early Light, and I'd seen bits and pieces of it before, but it's a great kind of Cold War movie about how a nuclear war could start. And so in my head, I'm always thinking about stuff like that. Well, how would this game out? And I think maybe kind of a nuclear war scenario, and like I said, maybe even a game about trying to de-escalate a nuclear war. So it's more of a diplomatic game, but something with that theme. Um, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be freaking awesome. And then of course there's always IPs I'd like to see made into games, like Man in the High Castle. I think it'd be freaking awesome, something to do for a game. But anyway, where are we? Ever play Here I Stand or Virgin Queen? I played Here I Stand and I liked it, but I don't think I appreciated it. I think I played it once or twice, and it was a little too big for me at the time. And I think now I probably would appreciate it a lot more. I never played Virgin Queen. Let's see. Make great thematic Mythic. Make great thematic miniature games. Yeah, I haven't played anything from Mythic. Rebel is a new thematic publishing house. Every Nemesis product has been a yeah. Nemesis is cool. I just dropped my review for Nemesis Lockdown, and it's incredibly thematic. It's like I said in the review, it's the most thematic non-IP game I think I've ever played. Most thematic game I've ever played is Battlestar Galactica, and then maybe Star Wars Rebellion. But for something without an IP, yeah, Nemesis absolutely sucks you into that game. Um, I would love to see some games in the more recent conflicts. I served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and I would love to see games in those theaters. Yeah, I never played the what's the coin game? The first one, Distant Plain. I still haven't played any of the coin games, and I want to. But I think that, from what I understand, is a really good Afghanistan game. And thank you for your service. Appreciate that. Um, the German-Russian front in Axis and Allies zombies gets absolutely packed with it. Well, any wonder why? you know, I mean, in like between like November and April 41, 42, the Soviets take like nearly 1 million casualties. You compare that to like over that's just around Moscow, right? Essentially the Battle of Moscow. You look at Midway, and like the United States lost 300, the Japanese lost like 3,000. You know, so um, Command Missile by IDF, is that a nuclear war game? That sounds like that could be fun. I want to see a game about Chinese foreign colonialism, maybe something like Imperial Struggle, but better. Do you mean like currently, like China's penetration into Africa and Ceylon and those places? Because that actually might be kind of interesting. Just actually like a game about modern diplomacy and like trying to keep something like Russia and China in check. Something like that might be cool. Where you've got the West, you got NATO trying up against these things. Maybe a brinksmanship game. Sometimes to me, the idea of preventing wars and de-escalation and those ideas and those concepts to me can be as interesting as an actual war game per se. But using military units as deterrents and what have you. I think that could be cool. I think a game about just trying to prevent a war, any war ever, would would be good. Where like maybe it's a cooperative game and you've got all these problems where you're trying to get it. In fact, I tried to develop a game years ago and it wasn't very good. But essentially, it was based on Battlestar Galactica, but it was trying to prevent World War One, and it really wasn't a very good game. But I like the idea of that. I think that's a fun idea. Um, let's see, Cody, you're talking about original Rune Wars, Marvel Superheroes board game. The original Rune Wars I wasn't a fan of. I thought it was just okay. I really built it up in my mind, and I thought it was going to be like the fantasy version of TI4, and it had some good stuff in it, but I thought it was overrated. I thought Rune Wars was overrated. Yeah, Man of High. I actually had kind of worked out an idea for a game for Man of High Castle, but probably never happened now that the TV show's over. Nemesis has an IP. Well, okay, yes, okay, Aliens, but it's non-IP in that it's not a licensed IP, right? Okay, you got me. Um, Cody, do you watch other board game YouTube's channels? If so, what are your favorite favorites? I still watch Dice Tower. Well, let me put it to you this way: I watch Tom on the Dice Tower. Every now and then, some people will review stuff, and I'll watch some of them. But I think Tom's still a pretty solid guy. I don't. A lot of times I do not agree with him, and I usually won't watch a game that I know I'm going to review because I don't want to be influenced by his reviews. Um, but he comes up with some pretty good stuff. He comes up. I mean, his take is usually solid, and even if I disagree with him, he'll have something to say I appreciate. I still think he's good. The thing about the Dice Tower is it's kind of morphed over the years, and I remember when he'd do a top 10 list, and it was like he and Sam or he and Sam and Z, and it was awesome, and it was a half an hour, 40 minutes tops. And now you watch it, they got 4 or 5 guys on there, and it's like 2 hours, and it's too much. It's too long for me. And God bless him. I think it's like I say, I still think he's the best in the biz as far as reviewers go. Every now and then I'll watch a Shut Up and Sit Down. I think that's pretty decent still. I don't watch as much as I used to because I find they don't review a lot of games I'm interested in these days. But if there's a game I'm interested, I always want to hear what they have to say. And then of course Marco Omnigamer, used to be Marco Wargamer. Again, I don't always agree with him, but I find he and I's tastes are fairly similar. And he's usually again got something really good to say. So I like Marco quite a bit. Are there any unique games in your collection, rare, valuable, out of print? Origins of World War II is probably maybe the oldest. Well, I guess technically Diplomacy would be the oldest game because that was 1958. It's a newer edition, but I've got one from the 70s for World War II, Origins of World War II. Gosh, I don't know that I've got anything else terribly out of print right now. I've given up so many games over the years, though. I've given them to friends. I've sold some. Yeah, I don't know that I've got anything terribly rare. Are there any Distant Plane? It's awesome. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. In your opinion, what was U.S. General Marshall's biggest mistake during World War II, Dr. Cody? Biggest mistake from Marshall? Well, I wrote my dissertation on his personnel selections, and I think he had some pretty subpar commanders. I might say that gun to my head as far as personnel decisions go, I'd say giving Lloyd Frendendahl a command. I think Lloyd Frendendahl was a disaster. I don't know anybody that has anything good to say about Lloyd Frendendahl. He commanded the Second Corps in Tunisia, and he was on the receiving end of the Kasserine Pass when Rommel attacked. And if you've seen the movie Patton, Patton is like just taking over for Frendendahl right there. So I don't know. I'd be tempted to say that. Advanced Squad Leader, year never played it. Can't say. I've heard it's good, but it looks a mite too complicated for me. So I probably won't go for it. But people swear up and down by it. So there's got to be something it does right. I've always thought Conflict of Heroes was a more playable version of Advanced Squad Leader. Okay, the only Conflict of Heroes I played was the Guadalcanal one, and I liked that one. Dice Tower list videos need to be edited. I stopped watching them years ago. Yeah, there's just too much there, and one thing is they always get kind of silly, which is fine. You're with your friends and you laugh, and as a viewer you laugh along with them. But it seems like some of that just goes on too long, and there's points where you're just going to say okay, And again, I kind of feel bad even criticizing Tom because I have such respect for him and I have such respect for the channel. And but I agree. I'd like to see those things edited. I'd like to see shorter and sweeter for his lists. Do you have any preference between games centering on a single battle or campaign and strategic games that can cover an entire war? I used to be very much into just strategic games, and I still love strategic games. But more and more, I like more kind of either tactical or operational games. But again, I'm not somebody. Having said that, I'm not somebody that gets into the weeds with hex and counter games. I have a few of them and I play a few of them, but they're not my cup of tea. But I mean, I look at a game like Undaunted Normandy, or Company of Heroes, or Tide of Iron, or something like that. And I like the battles, and I like obviously I like the United States and France stuff. I think that's pretty fun. But I think the Russian front's such an interesting place, and I'm really looking forward to Undaunted Stalingrad too for that reason. Um, where are we? Yep, good comparison. COH is a great game. ASL is more of a hobby in of itself. Probably right. Probably right. Shut Up and Sit Down has great reviews, but I have their personalities. They come across entirely insufferable. Oh, hate their personalities. Yeah, there you go. I don't know. That's kind of their shtick, and it kind of endeared me to them. I think early on, I liked it early on when it was just again just Quinn's and Paul, and they would do the sketches. That was my favorite stuff. When we started TDG. If you look at our very first episodes, they're all sketches, right? I got all my theater buddies and we did sketches, and I loved doing that. But it was just exhausting. It'd take me 2 weeks to produce one video, and I just couldn't keep up with everything I wanted to review, and so I kind of switched to this less technical format. Um, you have BSG. That's a good value Grail. Yeah, I guess you're right. BSG is an out of print Grail game. I guess you're right. That is good. New Dune or old Dune? Well, there's so many Dunes. Do you mean the 4-player Dune or the original 6-player? Or are you talking about Dune Imperium? Um, I don't know. I got to play the newer one a little. Actually, I got to play both more before I made that decision. I think it's kind of what you're in the mood for. An hour and a half game with 4 people, or a big grand epic game that could go on hours. Uh oh, New Dune or old Dune movie. The new Dune. I think Denis Villeneuve's Dune is just outstanding. Are there any board games or themes you enjoy playing that are outside of your normal types you play? Um, I don't know. I played a game for the first time. Like I said, my friend Kim was here, and we played a game called chess. We just a simple game chess. We were at the college where I teach, and there was a chessboard set. We just sat down and played a game. I can't tell you how long ago it was since I played the last game, just chess, without any kind of variants or cards or anything like that. I forgot how much I enjoy that game. It's a very calm, soothing game that I actually get a kick out of. And why I bring it up now is because it's an abstract game, and I'm not a huge fan of abstract games, but every now and then I'll like one. But yes, I don't know. I like what I like. Sam was most informative to my gaming taste on the Dice Tower, but I still find them entertaining, just less informative. Yeah, that's Sam T. That's a good point. Sam was, I felt like I would probably was my tastes align most with Sam as well, and I kind of miss his voice on that show. Have you ever played Tabletop Simulator either as a way to? No, I never have. I've got it on my computer, and I keep thinking I should probably check it out, but I can't work up the motivation to do it. When are you gonna play Paths of Glory? As soon as it's not in, it's out of print still, as far as I know. When it comes back, unless they've reprinted it already and I didn't know about it. I'd love to play Paths of Glory. I'm itching to play Paths of Glory. BSG is so good. I only have the base game, but still love it. It's great if you can get the Pegasus expansion. Makes it better. I've got all the expansions in these 2 boxes, and because there's cards and minis that come with all of them. So I'm glad I got them all. But if you're asking me, yeah, the Pegasus is the essential expansion there. Have you ever got into grand strategy on computer, such as Europa Universalis 4? No, I play Hearts of Iron 4 a lot, more than I should. I waste so much time on that game. I played Stellaris a little bit, and I like Stellaris. Um, but I don't know. Hearts of Iron 4 just blows me away. I'm a big Civilization player, but for some reason, whenever I play a game of Civ, it crashes. So I got to figure that out. But I love Hearts of Iron 4. I played the original Hearts of Iron, and then the other two I never caught my imagination. But the Hearts of Iron 4, it blows me away. It's man, I play that game so much. And what was the other one? It's not Grand Strategy, but it's was it Steel Division 44? That's when I play a little bit here and there. Um, yeah, get a copy of BSG if you can. If you can find it, it's worth it. Unfathomable's great in a lot of ways. Unfathomable is superior, but if you like the TV series of BSG like I did, nothing beats the original. Nothing beats the original. Um, After POG, you got to play Crusade and Revolution. Okay, I haven't heard of that one, so I'll check it out. Shut Up, Sit Down is great despite the handicap of being British. Oh, you remember that line? That was a line from our very first episode of TDG. I said that. Shut Up and Sit Down. They do a great episode. They do a great job with the reviews despite the handicap of being British. I love the British. I watch longer review videos on 1.5 speed. Fantastic. Would you ever try the miniatures game Bolt Action? A miniatures game has to be like super special for me to try it. Gale Force 9 actually sent me a set from Flames of War, and the next time I do miniatures, I'll probably try that one because everybody says I need to, but I haven't tried it yet. And miniatures games. I played. A friend of mine had some Warhammer, and we used to play Warhammer a little bit, and I liked it and I appreciated it, but I never really got into it. The most miniatures games I ever got really were Star Wars X-Wing and Armada. I got pretty heavy into those. Haven't played them in years. I got these giant crates filled with each of them. I'm assuming Bolt Action is World War II. If only the USA would embargo USD instead of Russia. What is your current favorite outer space themed game? Probably TI4. I mean, I love TI4. It's the only issue with TI4 is you can never get it at the table. I had 1 year. I think it was the year before I moved to Texas, where I played TI3. I think like 6 times that year, and I'm like, I couldn't believe how many people wanted to play and how many times we could get at the table. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. That's a game that honestly, if I can get to the table once a year, I'm happy. But we were able to get it to the table, like I say, like about 3 or 4 times, or no, 6 times. We got it 6 times that year. And I also got like BSG to the table like 6 times that year. That was a good year. It's 2016, I think. That was a good year. Speaking of other space games, Space Empires 4X is amazing. Eclipse is another fun one. If you don't mind the IP, Star Wars Rebellion, Star Wars Outer Rim. Oh, and Star Trek Ascendancy. Star Trek Ascendancy is a great game. They got a couple of new expansions coming out for that too. I'm really excited to review that one. Do you prefer tactical, operational, or grand strategy, or does it depend on the topic? Well, again, as I mentioned, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I used to be a big fan of grand strategy. I still am. I still love grand strategy. War Room's my favorite game, but I increasingly like kind of operational games. Tactical games are good. Like Combat Commander's a good tactical game, and I like that one. But operational theater games I like too. So, and the topic matters. Yeah, absolutely, the topic matters. Any suggestions to make Tide of Iron more enjoyable solo? I've never played it solo. Never played Tide of Iron solo. Do they have a solo? Is there a solo variant that even comes with it, or because I haven't played Tide of Iron in not since I moved down to Texas. It was before I moved to Texas, and I moved to Texas in 2017. I still got Tide of Iron. It's right over there in a big crate. I got all the stuff in a big crate. But, yeah, I've never played a solo. Sorry. Yeah, I bought Unfathomable, yet to play it, but I love the theme of BSG. I just wish I had the wherewithal to have gotten it while it was still in print. Yeah, I know. There's some games you're just kicking yourself when you don't grab it. Outside of Access Knowledge, is there any good multiplayer historic war games that is a great introduction game? Multiplayer historic war, well, I mean, Risk. Castle Risk is pretty good, which we're mentioning Risk Europe. They're fairly good beginner games. Just looking here what I got on my. I don't think Company of Heroes is too hard to learn, and it can play up to 4. You got to kind of fudge the history with 4, but that one's pretty good. And then what else have I got here that looks good? Multiplayer. Friedrich plays with 3. Friedrich plays with 3. No, 4. Pardon me. Friedrich plays with 4. I wouldn't exactly call that introductory, but I don't think it's too difficult either. Gosh, I don't know that I've got any right now that fit that bill. Oh, the 4-player Undaunted. 4-player Undaunted is a great. I think Undaunted Normandy is like a great intro to wargaming because it's not really a war game and yet it's kind of a war game. And you can play the 4-player version of that with Undaunted reinforcements, and that's really cool. Gosh, other than that, I'd have to think about it. I don't know that I own anything like that right now, other than some of the Axis and Allies. Well, it's fantasy, but Conquest of Nerath. is really good, which is essentially Axis and Allies in Dungeons and Dragons. But I love that, and I think it's out of print too. So, um, Space Empire is pretty amazing too. I would love to see a non-combat objective that could be obtained for that game. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that'd be a fun thing. You know, you're trying to accomplish something other than just total domination. Oh, hey, let me just tell you, I will not be doing a stream next week. I will not be doing a stream next week. I'm going out of town next week. I won't be here, so I'm sorry. You'll have to live without a stream for next week. Sorry. Um, hey, just tuning in. Just wanted to say hi again, and that I love your movie review. Oh, thank you. I've only done the two. Um, I was trying to gauge interest. They didn't. I mean, viewer-wise, they were just okay. But I don't know. What else? What do the rest of you think? Should I be doing more movie reviews? Did you like the movie reviews? Do you don't care? Do you not want to see them? Just be honest. I don't care. I just want to know because it's something I enjoy doing. But if nobody else likes it, I'm not going to do it anymore. But I mean, I got ideas for other movies I want to review. Some older movies as well as new ones. But thanks, Alt. I appreciate that. Have you ever played Star Trek Fleet Captains? Yeah, I got Star Trek Fleet Captains right up there. I got all the expansions for it too. I've heard some folks disagree, but it really feels as close to the show in the box I've seen. I agree. Fleet Captains is Star Trek in a box. Just like Star Wars Rebellion is Star Wars in a box, Fleet Captains is Star Trek in a box. I really love Fleet Captains. Great game. I've yet to try Flames of War, but would love to try it. Yeah, Bolt Action's World War II with a blind draw, chill pull. Well, I don't know. Maybe sometime. Maybe I'll have to look into it. Bolt Action. Love Fleet Captains. Yeah. If your house is on fire and you only have time to save one game, which one are you taking out? War Room. War Room. Which sucks because I'd hardly ever get it at the table, but I love that game so much. I love War Room. You know, I don't know. If you ask me my top 10, we'd be here for a while. Maybe Undaunted. Yeah, I mean Undaunted is one I want to grab for. That's a great game. Gonna try the War Room expansion with subs, but I have not played it. Yeah, I've got that, and I don't think I played it with that either. That's just the mini expansion. Is that what you're talking about? Because that's what I've got. Castle Risk, the only game I played where two belligerents engaged in an actual fist fight over the game. I've told this story before on the channel, but Sean and Zach, they're brothers, and we played a game of diplomacy. And I won't go into the intricacies of the game, but Zach betrayed Sean, and on the drive home, Zach was driving, and Sean started beating him up while they were driving. They nearly got into an accident. I heard. Let's see. I heard the War Room is getting close to shipping. I can't wait to try it out. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love War Room. Are you ever going to write a book like Anthony Beaver or William Shirer? Stay tuned. You should review some of the Hearts of Iron mods like the New Order. You know, I've not really done any of the DLCs. I probably should because it's getting a little samey, but maybe we'll see what happens. I don't know. I've done I think one video where I talked about video games a while ago, and I kind of felt a little out of my depth because I'm not video game literate the way I'm board game literate. I'm not all that interested in movie reviews. I appreciate your effort and passion for them, but I guess I never got into the technical side of movies and either like them or not. Fair enough. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hello, just saw your review for the Letters from Whitechapel. Really good. Convinced me to get Dear Boss also. Hope it adds, what is it, 5th? Thank you. Yeah, gosh, I did that review like in 2014. So that's a while ago I did that one, and it's a great game. I haven't played it in forever, but it's really good. I've also got the Whitehall Mystery, which is like the dumbed down version of it, the streamlined version of it, which is fun too. I like them both. We'll be posting more videos on Cody Carlson's channel. Yeah, I am. It's just hard. I've got so much going on, and I'm trying to keep this. Really trying to grow this channel. So please tell your friends to subscribe to this channel. I really want to grow this one, and so between work and that and other projects I've got going, my history channels just move along slowly. If I ever get the technical know-how, I actually want to interview some people. I want to bring some people on my channel, some historians, and talk to them. But I gotta I'm a Luddite. I really am a Luddite. I am amazed I'm able to do this right here because I'm not technically competent. And so if I can ever figure that out, maybe I'll try to interview people at some point. Um, Company of Heroes is a miniature game masquerading as a board game. It's a great game. Yeah. Why is War Room so good? Because it's got everything I love in a board game. It's World War II. It's dice combat. It's epic. It's massive. It's a long game, which I love. If I've got the time and the friends, I would. That's what I would love to do is do like one of these all day games. And I love this the stacks and how you're moving the stacks. I love the diplomacy feature where you've got to negotiate with your allies. Okay, we need to do this. You got to work out a strategy together every round. I love how, like diplomacy, you reveal your orders simultaneously, and then you got to kind of figure it out. And the whole game is kind of planning what you want to do, and then simultaneously having everything come together. And it's just a beautiful game. But it's also too rooted in my love of Axis and Allies because I played Axis and Allies when I was a kid and I fell in love with it. And so and I've said this before, War Room is the game I always wanted Axis and Allies to be. And so I love it. I absolutely love it. Hi, the Duck Overlord. What board game hurts the most to lose and feels the best to win, respectively? Oh. I guess I can answer that by saying I don't care. I don't play board games to win or to lose. I really don't. Now, I get invested in board games when I'm playing and I'm trying to win, and it sucks when I lose. But the reality is, I don't care. I don't care about winning and losing games. That's probably why I'm no good at games, incidentally. Any game, I'm not good. I play against really smart people, and I'm not good. I'm not a naturally good player of board. I mean, winner guy that wins board games. I'm about the story. I'm about the journey. I'm about engaging with my friends and having a story that we can tell and laugh at for years to come. And I mentioned this just in my review for Nemesis Lockdown. It's all about the story, and it's like I say, when you guys are playing a game and you have one of these big epic games, or not even a big game, maybe even a small game, but there's that story evolves, and then it's like a secret no one else knows. Just you and your friends know. And you know how much fun you had, and you always will. And you'll go back to it and think of it. And that's one of the reasons, too, why I so much prefer thematic games that tell stories to abstract games. And it's one of the reasons why I think I'm not a big Euro gamer. I mean, there are some Euro games I really enjoy, but to me, stories, the kinds of stories I like, are told much better by thematic games and heavily thematic games and war games rather than by kind of more abstract Euros. So. But that's a good question, so sorry I completely evaded it. Have you ever played the No Retreat series? I played, yeah, the 1941, and I liked it, but I wasn't a huge kind of hex and counter war gamer at the time. I wouldn't mind playing one again, but I didn't play it. I only played it I think once or twice when I had it. That was 7-8 years ago. What digital board game ports have you really loved? Um, Star Realms. I probably play Star Realms every time I go to the toilet. I'm playing Star Realms. It seems like. So I play Star Realms on my apps all the time on my phone and on my iPad. Um, Incidentally, I actually just had I did this thing last week where I said challenge the professor, and I said to all my students, I said, hey, come and play a game of Star Realms with me. I had a couple show up. I played a couple of games of Star Realms with students. One beat me, one I beat one. And this week I actually put out today I put out a thing for this Friday to play the Grizzled. I want to get people to come play the game of the Grizzled with me. Good World War One game. So I'm hoping that'll do something. I'd like to start up a board game club here eventually at the school I teach, but we'll see what happens. If you were to review older films, I'd look forward to them as well as current ones. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. What is your favorite YouTube history channel? Mark Felton. Yeah, Mark Felton, actually, I've seen several of Mark Felton's videos. Those are actually really good. Um, I don't watch a lot of like specific channels so much as I look for a lot of different things I can use in the classroom. When I'm looking for YouTube stuff or on history, it's usually for stuff I can use in the classroom. Where I get my history is more from reading and from books than from like documentaries and stuff. So, but I do look at a lot of stuff that I can show in a classroom. So, hey, glad I caught this. Just joining. You gave me a terrific audiobook recommendation, which was a tough book, Rampage. Yeah, Rampage is. He's got James Scott's got a new book coming out too about. I think it's the bombing of Japan, the bombing campaign against Japan. I can't remember, but it's a new. He's got something else coming out that looks pretty cool. But it is a tough book. The toughest book I ever had to read was Rampage. I chose to read was Rampage, but great book, great book. What do you think about GM'd games? I thought that some games greatly benefit from a fog of war that is. Oh yeah, I played. Oh crap, what was it? The Napoleon, right? Fourth edition from Columbia, and they had actually talked about sending me a second one so I could play the like big one with the blind one with Fog of War. But then they said, but you got to have a GM run it. And it's like, that really turned me off. So I haven't really. The ideas of GMs just, I don't know if the people playing it can't do it, because if you're a GM, you're not having as much fun. And I've GM'd games before, like I remember like one time we had a bunch of my friends. We were in Las Vegas and they had a game of Legendary Marvel deck building game. There were 6 of us, so the 5 of them played it, and they hadn't played it before, so I was kind of teaching them how to do it, and I had fun, but not as much fun as they did, right? I'm looking forward to Coalition's release. Yeah, I am too. I am too. That's gonna be a fun one. Coalition's is a great game. You should do a turn-by-turn War Room recap. I've thought about that. I gotta schedule another game of War Room actually this year, but maybe that's something I'm thinking of doing. The game's so long as it is, and I'm just afraid that would just make it so much longer. Have you played Wir sind das Volk with 4-player expansion or Memoir 44 Overload? I have not played Wir sind das Volk. That's one I want to play, and I have really always wanted to play Memoir 44 Overlord, but I haven't played that one. I'd love to sometime. Be interesting to see more film reviews, especially older ones. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, when you write your book, you should consider doing a tour and definitely do it at Powell's in Portland, Oregon. Well, maybe. We'll see what happens. Like I say, it's very interesting you say that. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. If you could go back in time and cause one game to never be made, which game would you prevent from being made ever existing? Small World. I think it's such an overrated game, and it kind of annoys me that so many people like it. Yep, the journey is much better than the destination. Agreed. Have you ever seen the upcoming Star Wars Outer Rim expansion? Have you seen the upcoming? I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I have. I was actually just mentioned that earlier tonight. I am looking forward to that one. That's like super mega awesome on my radar. Definitely want to check that one out. You might like A Chill in the Air, an Italian War Diary, 1893 to 1945 by Iris Organ. Easy read, life. Okay. Insights into pro and anti-Mussolini. Good stuff. I know Bosworth, the Australian historian Bosworth. He's written some good stuff on Mussolini. He wrote the biography of Mussolini. He wrote Mussolini's Italy, which was really good too. I've actually been looking at. I'm working on this course. I'm actually going to teach a course on Nazi Germany in the fall, and so I've been working on my lectures. And of course, I did a whole thing on fascism in Italy. What's the biggest upcoming game on your radar? Again, there are some of those GMT games that I'm really looking forward to, like Prime Minister. I think sounds really intriguing. The one about the Munich conference sounds intriguing. They got one about the French Resistance. I think it's like a solitaire. There's a Napoleon one. I think a Napoleon solitaire that they're doing, and there's somebody else has got like a solitaire Napoleon one. I thought I heard about. But you know, it's kind of GNT to have something in the works that I'm chomping at the bit to play. And there's some other stuff, and it's funny. You asked me that question, they all go out of my head. But like I say, I mentioned at the beginning that the GI Joe miniatures game is one I'm looking forward to, and the expansion for the GI Joe deck building game I'm really looking forward to. Yeah. Oh, somebody asked me before about Grail games, like Unity games that are out of print games. I own a couple of games that are out of print that I would highly recommend if you can get a hold of them. And they're right here. They're Courtier and Dominaire from AEG. They're no longer in print. I keep hoping they'll reprint them because they are phenomenal games. They're both kind of Euros, but they're probably two of my favorite Euro games. I really like them a lot, and I hope they bring them back. Philip Dubarry, who did Courtier, he also did Black Orchestra about trying to kill Hitler. So good stuff. What's the biggest? Okay, what school do you teach at? I teach at Western Wyoming Community College. in tropical Rock Springs, Wyoming. Uh, if he has a new book, I'm on it. Same here. Rampage is the single hardest book I've ever listened to. Yeah, great book. And his book on the Doolittle raids, Target Tokyo, is really good too. If you haven't read that one. Do you believe the board game industry has degenerated? Kickstarters contributed to that? I don't know. Was it Seth from Mayday? I think wrote something like a blog a few years ago about Kickstarters, and for a lot of companies, the problem is you think a game's going to be really good, and so you're going to produce a lot of them, but then the game doesn't sell, and you're screwed. Or you think a game might do okay, you produce it, and it becomes a mega hit, and you don't have the inventory to sell it. And what Kickstarter does is among other things, it allows companies to gauge um, response and interest, and that is going to kind of save them a lot of headaches and a lot of money in the long run. And I can't fault them for it. I don't know that Kickstarter has ruined the industry. Um, I wouldn't say that at all. I think it's a tool. The industry is still seeing growth, right? We're still seeing a tremendous amount of growth in the board game industry, and I'm optimistic about its future. There are problems, and some of these problems are getting bigger, and some of the problems are linked to Kickstarters. But overall, I'm optimistic. Ich bin optimistisch. I think the company is strong. The state of our hobby is strong. Um, let's see. Is it hard or easy for you to learn and remember the rules? Complex games, especially those whose rule books are. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I struggle with it, like everybody. If it's a big complex game, it's work, and you hope it's worth it. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And then it sucks too when you haven't played a game in a long time. Not even just big complex games. Sometimes even simple games. Like I haven't played the Grizzled in years. I'm thinking, oh, this would be a great game to play with my students. And today I'm going back and I'm watching videos. I got to read the rule book before I hit it again with my students because, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've forgotten. Um, I'm going to have to look into this book, Rampage. Not sure it's going to be right for me, but I'm always interested in books that have notable consequential. Yeah, Rampage is about the Battle of Manila in 1945, and why it's so difficult to read is it very honestly and very graphically details what the Japanese were doing to the Filipino people, and it's I've read dozens, probably more than dozens of books on the Holocaust, and you almost kind of feel being a historian and reading so much of that stuff, you kind of grow a callous and you kind of have a professional detachment. But sometimes you're reading a book and it just hits you. It just hits you. These were people. This happened. And that book, Rampage, I cried. I cried several times reading it. It was so difficult. And I was so glad I read it because it's such an important book and it's such an important topic, and it's something I make damn sure I tell my students about. But it's a hard book to read. Mare Nostrum ended up to be way too Euro for me. Everyone around the table playing solitaire, best person at solitaire wins. Yeah, I see your point, but I still enjoyed Mare Nostrum. My latest purge, I'm sad to say I got rid of Mare Nostrum, just because, again, I had to make some real painful decisions this last purge. Really painful decisions, and unfortunately that one was one of them. And I'm really scared. I'm really scared I may have to do another purge before too long, and I'm trying to keep that day at bay. But already in the back of my mind, what could I absolutely have to? If I had to get rid of stuff, what would I get rid of? And it's a hard thing to talk about here. What are good coin games to get into for newbies? I've not played a coin game. I mentioned this earlier. I haven't played any coin games. I see GMT's got the one about Mars, of the science fiction one on Mars. I'm actually thinking that might do it. That might introduce me to coin, because I've always been so intimidated. And people who play coin say, it's not that hard, it's not that hard. It's probably not. But I don't know. I have a hard time getting past the intimidation factor. But I may start with that one. We'll see what happens. I would honestly recommend whichever theme strikes you as the most interesting. I had served in Afghanistan, and I love Distant Plane. Oh, yeah, I got to try Distant Plane. I wish board games came out in some kind of digital format first, because it would let you fix all the issues in rule book. Yeah, well, maybe if it got too popular, maybe it'd never come out in physical form, though. So who knows? The author of Rampage said he had to hold back in the book. Yeah, James Scott. James is actually he's a good internet friend of mine. We've talked a lot, and he's a good guy. He's a hell of a good guy. I love James, and he yeah, he held back. So it took me 6 months of stopping and starting to get through it. I don't doubt it. Hold back meaning didn't include the horrific events. Yeah. Red Dust is that? Yeah, Red Dust is the one from GMT coming. The coin game coming up. Yeah, looking forward to that. My stack of games that are for retirement are reaching ridiculous levels. That's awesome. Red Dust Rebellion. Yeah, Red Dust Rebellion. Looks cool. All right, we're going to start wrapping things up, so we got time for a few more questions. I don't like to go longer than an hour because I need my beauty sleep. But let me, while we got a minute here, let me ask you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I assume most of you probably have at this point, please subscribe to the channel. Please tell your friends if they're interested in board games. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to get it to grow. And again, please subscribe to my other channel, Cody Carlson PhD, where I talk about history and history topics. I'm really trying to get that one to grow, but I need to put more time into that one. So, thank you. Got to run, catching up. Thank you, sir. Great content. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate it. Love the beard, by the way. Thank you. You think so? I don't know. I've been debating. Maybe it's time to get rid of it. It's all gray, and I look like an old man. And yes, I've got a thing. I had a little skin tag. I had a doctor cut off today. So, but I thank you. I appreciate that. Great. Well, okay. Why don't we go ahead then, and we'll plan on another Q&A at the beginning of May. And thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Robert. We'll do another Q&A at the beginning of May, and I won't be here next week. I'm going to be out of town next week, and we will see you. Hopefully the week after that, I'll be able to do a stream, play a game, do a stream. Beards are always better. My beard is striped white at 38. Thank you. Hey guys, this is a lot of fun as always. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your help and support. I wouldn't do it if I didn't have such great people to interact with and talk with, and talking board games is fun. I love talking board games. Love talking history. So hey, I appreciate you all. God bless you, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.